What's the word, ladies and gentlemen? This is Andrew, and today we'll be reviewing another loadout. This time we'll be doing the S41 Revised Rifleman Thunder. Now, I have this loadout in Cobalt, but don't be surprised if you come across this loadout in another rarity. We'll be going over its weapons and augments and seeing how it stacks up to the other loadouts available to Thunder. So, the S41 will come with the Stark AR, the M9 pistol, and the Bechdel combat knife. For augments, you get Focus, Spares, and Explodydendron. Starting us off is the Stark AR, which is Thunder's primary here in this loadout. At the time of making this video, it will shoot for 18 damage a pop to the body, doubling up to 36 damage to the head. The Stark is a 3-round burst rifle, so each burst will hit for 54 damage to the body or 108 damage to the head if all 3 shots connect. Now, the fire rate on the Stark is pretty massive, coming in at 857 per 3-round burst, but there is a delay of 260 milliseconds between each burst, and it has a grace period of 133 milliseconds where you can click the fire button again. It will not oversample the weapon. Now, I'm sure a lot of you guys may be wondering, what is oversampling a weapon? Well, it's essentially the scenario where you click fire too fast and you try to shoot the gun before the gun is ready to fire. Now, the grace period adds a window where the player can press 133 milliseconds early and the weapon will still fire the next round on time, thus making it easier to maintain that maximum DPS. If you'd like a more in-depth explanation of oversampling, I'll go ahead and link you guys a video that Rel did that explains the concept quite well. Anyways, the Stark has 27 rounds in the magazine, and the reload of that magazine is 2.1 seconds. The maximum DPS of the Stark AR is 135. Now, the Stark is definitely a hidden gem, at least to me. There have been whispers of this weapon being stupidly strong if you can land headshots, but I never really took these claims that seriously until I was quote-unquote forced to use the Stark when I got the S41 in Cobalt. Surprisingly, I think I have fallen in love with this weapon. It requires some really good head tracking skills, but if you can chain those headshots, it becomes a monster. It's really good at taking out those 100 HP mercs very quickly. In CQC, tracking heads of those fast-moving mercs may be difficult, but if you can manage it, it's extremely deadly. Now, in these sort of situations, Thunder's bulk comes in handy because you can tank a lot of hits, and with good aim, you can dish out more damage the thing can bring onto you. However, the key words here are good aim. If you can't land those critical headshots, you may be better off with a fully automatic weapon. There's just something magical about dealing 108 damage in an instant and being able to do that every 260 milliseconds. Given the Stark's amazing accuracy, it's excellent at quickly taking out those targets at almost any range very quickly without giving them a chance to respond. Now, a lot of people have complained about scope, but in my opinion, I would usually hipfire this gun unless I'm trying to snipe a 100 HP merc that is standing still. The Stark does have a vertical kick, so you'll have to get used to slightly dragging down with the rhythm of the bursts. It's not a uniform upwards kick like the automatic weapons, so bear that in mind. So, to sum it all up, in my opinion, the Stark AR is an excellent weapon that definitely should not be overlooked. Moving on to the secondary is the amazing M9 pistol. It's a semi-automatic pistol that will shoot for 15 damage a pop to the body or 30 damage to the head at a rate of fire of 451. Its reload speed is 1.3 seconds, and it's got a big magazine of 15 rounds. In my opinion, this is an amazing sidearm. While it doesn't hit very hard, it's reasonably accurate and has a big enough mag pool to be spammy in those frantic latch-diff scenarios when your primary runs out of ammo. I've done a few rounds where I was able to run around as Thunder with pistol only, and while I wasn't able to go on terribly long streaks, I was able to take down full health mercs using their primaries with this pistol only. Now, I'm sure that has to do a lot with landing a good number of headshots, but I can say it's much easier to duel with the M9 than it is with the revolvers. It's an excellent secondary and complements the Stark pretty well. Last up, we have the Bechdel combat knife, which is a great standard melee weapon. It won't hit nearly as hard as something like the Kukri, but the animation is quick and the hitbox is pretty reliable. It'll do 40 damage as a swipe to the body, and the lunge will hit for 80. It's great for taking down downed enemies, but You know, if you're trying to go melee only Thunder, I would really not recommend doing that. I've tried it with limited success, and maybe your experience is different or will be different, but Thunder's snail speed of 375 just wasn't cutting it when trying to chase down and knife enemies. Almost everyone is faster than you, so the only way I was able to pull it off was when I snuck up on enemies who were occupied with something else. But from a standpoint of a normal melee weapon used for finishing down enemies, this knife is perfect. Now for augments, we have the juicy parts. First we have focus, which will reduce the amount of flinching by 50% when you're getting hit while scoped. Now this augment is pretty good on snipers, I will have to say. However, I'm conflicted on how useful it will be on the Stark. Sure, the Stark does have a scope, so you could conceivably make use of this perk, but as I stated before, I would usually only ever use a scope when I'm trying to kill a far off target who is standing still and not aware of my presence. Typically, when you're receiving fire, the target will be moving or strafing, and that coupled with the amount of visual recoil the Stark has, it makes me wonder how effective it would be to try to duel someone while scoping with this gun. To me, it is much more effective to just hip fire the Stark AR. With all those different factors in, I would say focus is a mediocre and somewhat situational perk. Next up we have spares, which will allow him to carry an additional magazine, which is also quite nice in that Thunder is an assault merc, so he'll be burning through ammo, killing people like no other. Spares helps alleviate some of that and makes him a little bit more independent on the battlefield. Finally, we have Explodydendron, which increases the AoE of the concussion grenades by 10%, and with the amount of changes done to Thunder's concussion grenades, I'm not entirely sure how useful this perk will be, in the future at least. But what I can say is that Thunder's concussion grenade has multiple rings of explosions, if that makes sense. Now the innermost blast radius is the one that is most devastating. It will blind you, it will concuss you, it will make your audio a little wonky. Basically all the effects that Thunder's concussion grenades have, that inner blast will do. So that inner blast is what you want to hit enemies with. From what I understand, currently Explodydendron will improve the size of the inner initial blast radius. However, I'm unsure if the larger blind radius is also affected. Either way, I think it's a welcome perk, as more targets that Thunder can net in his concussion grenades, the easier it would be to mop them up with his guns. Overall, I find the S41 a great loadout. It's definitely one of those better Stark loadouts for Thunder, and overall a good loadout in general for the merc. The S92 is arguably better in the perks department, but what I like about the S41 is the awesome secondary, the M9, and you also get the spares augment. The S92 does have Unshakable, but I don't find that augment alone enough to say that the S92 is outright better than the S41. It's sort of a pick and choose at that point, depending on what you prefer. Now, the Stark AR itself is definitely a hidden gem for me, and once I got around to trying it out on Thunder, I was really blown away. So let me know down in the comments what you guys think of the Stark. Do you prefer it over the Timic and the MK46? Have you never tried it? Were you like me and sort of biased towards the burst weapons? Well, I can say, at least at the time of making this video, I am really happy that I tried out the Stark AR on Thunder. It is absolutely amazing, and so maybe if you haven't tried out the Stark AR, give it a shot. It's definitely an amazing weapon. Anyways guys, I hope this video has proven helpful to you in determining if the S41 is a good loadout or not for Thunder. Let me know in the comments what you guys would like to see next, and until next time, I'll see you in the next one.